I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I'm really happy to be with you. I have the honor of introducing you to extraordinary women that inspire me, that are change makers and innovators. And so I want you also to know that you can subscribe. We're on iTunes and iHeart and Spreaker and Amazon and YouTube. So please subscribe, because I do this every week, and there are some amazing women that want to give you opportunities to step into your greatness. So my guest today is Patrice Chanel, and I will talk about our history in a moment. But after spending 30 years traveling the world while working in the entertainment industry, Patrice Chanel now focuses her energies on encouraging the next generation's love of theater, dance, and live performance. One of her joys is paying forward many years of performing experience to her students. Patrice has spent 25 years at Campbell Hall School in a number of positions, focused on enhancing the student experience through musical expression. As a founder and artistic director of the Gospel Choir, 2020 marked the 20th anniversary. Patrice uses her production skills to create standing room only concerts and student-driven ensembles. She's always had a love for fashion. So in the fall of 2006, she became a cabbie fashion stylist, part-time alongside with her full-time job, launching yet another successful career. Patrice, I am so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Cynthia. It's a blessing, really, to be here with you after all these years.
So the way that we met is Patrice was a lead in Hallelujah Hollywood in Vegas, and I got hired as a dancer, and they said, and maybe you can understudy Patrice because you kind of look like her. And I'm like, really? And she was, and then I saw it, and it was like, she was like amazing, just amazing. So I really want to talk about your evolution because you've had some shifts since then. So let's talk a bit about, first of all, where were you born? Where did you come from? And how did you get into entertainment?
Okay, so I was born in Dallas, Texas, but mom and dad moved us to Los Angeles the summer before I turned 6. That's why I don't talk like this. They moved us to California. And I guess, Cynthia, I've always loved to dance. Mom said I danced before I walked. Literally, I was even in the crib doing this, And I grew up as a child of the 50s. I grew up watching all of the big MGM movie musicals and just all of the musicals and trying to replicate what they were doing in real time. So that's where it began. I was always let's do a show with my cousins, They got so sick of me, but that's okay. And then I did, the typical route that a lot of kids, do go on when they love theater and they love performing. I did musicals in high school, and I took modern dance instead of PE because I love to dance. And I guess my one struggle with becoming a performer is that I was the only one in my family who wanted to do it, whoever wanted to do it. So they didn't understand this kid who was always talking about, I want dance lessons. I want to take piano lessons. Never got the piano lessons, never got the dance lessons. So I had to kind of manufacture it. I was a good dancer. I had really great rhythm, but I didn't have the technique to support the basic talent. So it was a little harder for me to get started in the business. And, God love my parents, they came from Dallas. They were just about hard work, putting food on the table, clothes on our back, and education was their big thing. They wanted us to go to college and get that education because that's what they saw as our way out. But I wanted to sing and dance, And when I graduated from high school, I started training then, but I was too late for ballet because it just hurt. So I I just started with jazz, and my dance teacher was fantastic. He had been an original dancer in West Side Story on Broadway, one of the Puerto Rican dancers, and he was all fire. And he was the best thing for me at where I was at that point, because everyone else in the class had had ballet since they were 2, and he's told me something to keep me inspired and keep me driven on my desire to be a singer dancer. And he said that what I had, you can't teach. He said, you have charisma. He said, the eye is drawn to you. That's something you can't teach. So focus on that, get as much technique as you can, and your personality will carry you the other way, the rest of the way.
Wow. And that is so true. I remember seeing the show for the first time. And when you came out there, I was like, whoa.
Oh, thank you.
That, and it's so funny because it's, our childhoods are very similar. I used to do shows with my cousin and tell them I was going to do all this stuff, and everybody thought I was crazy. And yeah. So I think it's in your blood. I mean, if you are a performer, you cannot help but
That's
perform.
Right. I completely believe that. And then I had Alan and Winston, who were the best teachers in the world.
Right. Yes.
Tell your audience a little bit about who they were. Also, after I left Hallelujah Hollywood, I put my own nightclub back together with a gentleman who ultimately became my husband. We're not married anymore, but that's another story for another time. But we opened for Sammy Davis Jr. and Bill Cosby and Dionne Warwick and all of the big comedians in that era. And I remember standing on stage at the Desert Inn Hotel, 22-piece orchestra, Bob Mackie gown. I'm standing on stage and I'm getting ready to take my bow. And I look down and my parents are sitting there and they're just beaming and clapping and they're so happy. And I said, in that moment, I said, you got to let that go. Because I was really carrying kind of this, not a burden, but I was mad at them, because it made my journey harder because I didn't have the technique and training that all the other dancers had. And I thought, you got to let it go. They did the best they could and what they knew how to do. And look at you, here you are anyway, in spite of that. So that was a little kind of awareness of my own.
Yeah. Well, and then that's beautiful. And and the thing is like, when you have a drive, when you have a desire like that and others don't see it, I think there is something that becomes insular. It's like, I have to deal with my own motivation. I have to deal with my own drive because the people out here don't see it yet. And it is not an easy thing to let go of. But the fact that they were sitting there and seeing you, and I remember, I think you were born with a dancer's body with these beautiful arms and stuff. And I remember saying, I never would have said, oh, Patrice Chanel doesn't have training, because it looked like you did. It looked the way you moved, the way you carried yourself. And so I love that what you knew when you came on the planet clearly, became the outpicturing, the manifestation, and that you stood for it. And I want to talk about that. So you stopped performing, in nightclubs and all of that.
Yes. I ultimately married the gentleman that, and I'm using that term loosely out of respect for this format. And we had a little daughter. So I don't know if you remember, I had a daughter.
I do. Is it Jolie?
Yes, good. Jolie. And she kind of grew up with, I tuck her under my arm and off we'd go to auditions. But then when I was 30, I guess we got married at 30 when I was 36, and Casey came the next year. And when she went into fourth grade, we went sideways. I wasn't raised to live that way. So I divorced him. And I actually took my portfolio and my pictures and all of my audition tapes, and I put them under the bed because it was her turn, And being young, I was a mother at 21 because I got married at 19. I know, ladies, who does that, right? But I did. I got married at 19, and because I had a path. I wanted to get married. I wanted kids. I wanted my career. And I thought I had married a man who was going to support all of my dreams. but no. So that marriage went by the wayside. And but because I was older and more experienced, I had more life experience behind me, I knew that I could never recapture the time with my child that I missed out on, because I was on the road. She would live with my parents, and I would go out on the road. We'd stay 4 or 5 weeks. I'd come home. We'd go back out for another gig, and all the time I'm thinking, oh, I'll have plenty of time. I'll have plenty of time to be with her and mother her and all that. But the reality is, I did not. So when I had Casey, and when that marriage ultimately went sideways, I said, it's her time, and I knew, because of my life experience, I knew that it was now. I had to give her all of me right now. And I did. And I was transitioning without even realizing it. Remember Cher that we were in? I remember thinking, I really do love teaching kids, because I would leave rehearsal because I had to go and be with these kids. I was choreographing them in a show, and they were only in 6th grade. They ain't anything, but it was important. They were expecting me. And so during those years, I started volunteering to choreograph, and that started a whole other chapter of my life. My youngest daughter tells me that I am the true manifestation of a Renaissance woman.
Yes, yes.
And I'm now, once I found out what that meant, I said, "Why, thank you, daughter."
Yeah.
But as women, we rise to the occasion, and whatever the need is, we do that. We do
Yeah.
what is expected of us. And I knew I had to provide a life for her. And I couldn't gig anymore. I couldn't go on the road and leave her. I didn't want to do it. So that's when I started working in education. And I found out that I was really pretty good at it. What personally held me back is I went to the college of what's happening now. I didn't go. I don't have a formal college education. I think I went to junior college maybe a couple of years, but everything that I learned on the road, being in Hallelujah Hollywood from the beginning, watching all the rehearsals, the pre-production, and all of that, traveling for close to 25 years with Sammy Davis and watching his entourage and how he conducted it. I was like going to college then, and I didn't realize it, because I've had faculty and administrators and parents say, "How do you get them to do that?" Or "How do you know how to do that?" And it's because I lived it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what I think is impressive about this is like, in the school systems today, a lot of the creativity has been removed. The ability for kids to sing, to dance, to do all of those kinds of things when it's a calling for them has been removed. So the fact that A, you had this experience, and then B, you could find a place where you could channel all that energy and all those gifts into kids who wanted to. I'm sure that it felt like they were sponges just waiting for you.
Well, I'm really blessed. The school that I work at is it's a private independent school, and the talent that comes through the school is hands down remarkable. We just had a young lady who just graduated from the USC School of Music. This girl's voice is like, she's got range like nobody's business. She was in all of my productions. And I told her, because she's got that voice like a trumpet, she can belt above high C.
Wow.
And she was always belting. I said, "Baby girl, come here. You got a phenomenal instrument, but if you're always belting, it's like, so what?" I said, "You got to start a song like you're praying, and then you get a little louder, and then you end with up here." And she goes, "Oh, it was little things like that." And then I learned that being on the road, I amazed myself a couple of times at how I learned about arrangements and how to arrange a song. And one of the things that I do a lot of work in diversity at the school. I produce assemblies for Black History Month and Dr. King's chapels. And they're like mini productions, they're always student driven and sort of theater driven, because I start without a lot of preamble. And I utilize kids that are in the orchestra and kids that are in choir. And, from my days in Hollywood, I don't care. Paint the elephants. I like big productions.
Right.
But I choreographed the musicals at the school for 15 years. I was even the cheerleading coach for 10 years.
Wow. Well,
So
what's incredible about all of this is like being on a big stage is a lesson unto itself. How you move, how you emote, how you
oh,
fill the space. Yes, yes.
yeah.
So the fact that you know that and you can bring it, whether it's a smaller production or a larger one, you get to teach them how to scale. So that's just that's exquisite, um and that you can marry um being a woman of color to bring in diversity and to invite the students into declaration is it's a powerful gift.
Well, and I tell you, every day I feel blessed because the school is my sanctuary. They've allowed me, I mean, in any private school, there's work you have to do because you got to do it because you're available at that time. But I just am so grateful that they've given me the freedom and the license to do what I do. And the gospel choir piece, as I get older, Cynthia, I'm sure we all do maybe go think this way, that you start thinking about the footsteps, the footprints you've left and the legacy you're leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
And if nothing else, the gospel concert will be my abiding legacy at that school. And it started it's an Episcopal school, so we have chaplains on campus. And I believe my daughter went there K through 12, and I believe she must have been in second grade or something, and maybe it was first grade because they didn't have a Dr. King chapel. And I'm like, what? Wait. So I asked the chaplain, I said, can I just say a few words at the chapel? And that's how it began, because I volunteered to do it. And then 2 years down the road, he says, Patrice, I'd really like to hear some gospel music on this campus. I said, wouldn't that be great? And girl, he turned around and walked away. And I'm like,
Oh, I guess it's my job.
Okay. So I had a dear friend who taught at a public school here called Hamilton High. Do you remember Hamilton High?
Yeah, I totally remember Hamilton.
Okay, so he was my high school theater teacher and my choir director. But he became he started Hamilton's what is that? It's not a charter. I can't think of what they call these specialized schools, but it's a school a place where kids go for specific things. And Hamilton High had a fantastic theater, whatever this word is that I can't remember. And so I mean, literally going to see those musicals, it was like you thought you were jettisoned to Broadway and nobody told you. But I called him and I said, Uncle Rick, I said, I want to try to put a gospel choir together, but how do I go about doing that? And he said, we happen to have a gospel choir. It's not part of our what we do, but there's a gospel choir on campus. So I took a road trip. I went and I listened to those kids. Girl, I was like, they were just warming up and I'm crying. They're so good. So, I mean, they touched my soul. I had, as Jennifer Lopez says, goosies, and they were just warming up. So for about 5 years, this gentleman came and he directed our choir. And that's literally how it started. So I remember at one of the concerts, it was probably the third or fourth year, one of the little kids, blonde, tow-head little boy, asked Casey, because she was just sitting there bobbing her head. And he said, don't you just love this music? She goes, duh. She goes, I listen to this music every Sunday at church.
She's like, it's my heritage. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Right. So, all right, so I want to ask you though. So now you got this full big job.
Yeah.
You're raising your daughter.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did Cabby get in there and become another career path for you?
Okay, but I do have to just to give a shout out to the dedication that we just celebrated our 20th anniversary virtually.
Wow.
The last year. And our largest, we have choirs as big as 150, 160 kids. It's 5th through 12th grade, and they love it. And I couldn't feel more grateful and blessed. So I was always trying to find ways to make a little extra money. I even started a little a cheerleader themed birthday party business. And I went to do those marketing research things to have, when you've got a kid, you've got to have extra money in your pocket.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And I mean, I make a good living working at Campbell Hall, but I always say it pays the bills. There's never any room for extra. And so I was trying to figure out a way. I was always doing a little something. And then Cabby kind of fell in my lap. That's a story unto itself that I won't bore you all with. And it was this year, my daughter's freshman year of college was my freshman year, Cabby. And I started doing it just, again, because I needed to make some extra money, because I knew that her scholarships and her financial aid packet wouldn't cover everything. And it didn't. I mean, it covered the fundamentals, but not everything. So I was so clueless, but having been in the business, you learn to take direction. So we would go to our conferences. You have to go to all these workshops and they teach you. And I've always loved fashion, always loved fashion. And I found out I was really pretty good at it. And my showbiz background really helped, because you do these presentations and I break into song and do a little dance. You know, the ladies think I'm crazy, but they know I love what I do. And when I started making my commissions, I went, I can't believe this. I can't believe it. And it's just been a blessing. And it's been another part of my life that fulfills me in a whole different way. You know, because it's something that's sort of just mine. I mean, I'm giving of myself to the women, and I really like women so much. I have two sisters, and best girlfriends. And as being a woman, I relate to women and the struggles that we've all had. And I started telling the women that, that were at the shows, for those ladies who aren't familiar with Cabby, it's like Tupperware parties, but with high fashion. That's
beautiful clothes, ladies.
Beautiful clothes, beautiful. And I said, as women, we're always putting either our children first, or our husbands first, or your significant other first, whatever that looks like. I said, but we never put ourselves on the list first. So for the time that you're in my presence, I am putting you on the list first. And it's all about you. And that's how I started. I look at it as a service. I am serving their fashion needs, and nothing makes me happier than when a woman comes out with something she's tried on and she goes, oh, and then all the other ladies in the room say, oh my God, you look beautiful. And she feels beautiful. To me, that's everything. I know once I had a show, and again, I've been doing this. I just launched my 15th year doing this. And there was a woman sort of sitting kind of behind me, but she looked familiar, but I didn't want to keep staring at her like a knucklehead or something. And but at the end of the show, because she was sitting like this with a little smirk on her face, because she knew that I knew her, but I couldn't remember her. So afterwards, she came up to me. She says, you don't remember me, do you? I said, I do, but I'm driving myself crazy trying to remember why. She goes, it's probably because I was about 80, 85, 90 pounds heavier.
Wow.
She had been to a party, and she felt bad because she couldn't fit in any of the clothes, because at that time we only went up to size 16. Now we go up to size 20. And she promised herself, and she said she realized that her children had never seen her small. Because when she got married, started having babies, she just started packing on the weight, and never lost it. So she lost this weight, and her teenage daughter was sitting next to her. And she tried on this suit, because I always would get a complete outfit in a larger size, because I believe every woman is beautiful no matter what size she is. And I wanted everyone to be able to try a full outfit on. So it was a suit that season. And she came downstairs, and her daughter went, Mommy, you're beautiful. This little girl had saved her babysitting money, and she paid for the outfit for her mom. Wow. That made me I was like crying. I was crying.
Right. Well, I think it's so wonderful, because I really, I do a lot of work with women, and I think the message of put yourself first, honor you, feel beautiful as you, be authentic as you, is a really powerful, gorgeous thing.
Yes.
Well, I want women to know how to find you. How do they find you?
Well, if you have a pen handy, you go www.Patrice Chanel, my whole name lowercase, .cabbyonline.com, and that's CABIONLINE.com, and my face will pop up.
Yes, and ladies, you can hear her passion, you can see her flair, so she will not guide you wrong.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. This is the last question that I ask every guest. This show is called Woman Awakening. What is the one thing you want women to know about the importance of their awakening?
Okay, one thing. Um, so to love yourself first. We as women need to love ourselves and like ourselves. I want to just share something with you all. I am 70 years old and I got divorced in 1997. So I've been divorced probably 23, 4 years now. Didn't date much. I said, nobody got time for that, you know. And um, I have what I call conversations with God. You know, I just, rather than just quietly pray, I talk to him like he's in the room with me, because he is.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, God, here's the deal. If it's your mission to, if you see my journey the rest of the way in this life as a single woman, I said, I'm good. I said, I'm really blessed. I've got two amazing jobs that I love. I feel fulfilled in my work. I love my work. I love the children that I teach. I love my own children. I've got three fabulous grandchildren. I still have my parents, 95 and 98. My daddy's going to be 99 in 2 months.
Mhm.
And I said, so I'm good. I said, I feel more blessed. I feel blessed than most, you know, so I have no complaints. I said, but if you could see your way clear, I wouldn't be mad at you. And so I just started dating again. This gentleman just, it's amazing. And I,
Been seeing your post and you look so joyous.
oh my gosh, he's so good to me. But the thing is, I know who I am as a woman.
Mhm.
And the thing is, I don't need a man to be happy. To have a man makes me happy in a way that I'm not ordinarily. But I'm in every morning. I wake up and I choose joy, and I think that resonates into the world. And that's what he has said about me. He said you just check all the boxes because you're always happy, and that comes from liking yourself. You know, I like my own company. I can go to the movies alone. For the last 20 plus years, I have been alone but not lonely. And I
Yeah.
think that's the trick or the ticket. And that's what I think is an important thing for women to learn. Sure, it's natural to want someone in your life to date or to go to a movie with. And I told him up front, I said, look, if doesn't work out, at the very least, we'll each have a good friend. You
Mhm.
know, it'll either work or it won't. But to have that self-confidence, because self-love brings self-confidence, and that goes into the world, and that's what people see when they see you.
That's incredible. Love yourself first. Well, Patrice, thank you so much for being here, for bringing your joy, your enthusiasm, your wisdom. Really grateful that you came.
Well, thank you. I'm going to tell you this in parting. So we got to have wisdom as we mature, because gravity is not kind.
Yes, yes, yes. So, ladies, listen, come back every week, meet somebody new, let them inspire you, whatever your calling is. You're an original imprint. You're magnificent. You're a masterpiece in the making. There's no one else like you that came here to do what you came here to do. So step into it. Dare to be bold. Be courageous. Bring your light. Shine your light. I'm so grateful I get to share these women with you. You know, subscribe, and I will see you next week because I love doing this.